Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time. Today, we're diving into George Orwell's essays to really unpack that quote. We're going to explore his core insight, how our political reality isn't just affected by language, it's actively and deliberately shaped by its corruption. So, when you hear the name Orwell, your mind probably jumps straight to 1984 or Animal Farm, and for good reason. But here's the thing. While his novels were the warning signs, his essays, they're the actual instruction manual for understanding our world. And what he diagnoses in these essays is, frankly, chilling. He argues that modern political power doesn't just use lies, it depends on making language itself meaningless. It thrives by creating this thick, impenetrable fog that completely obscures reality. Here's the crucial point, the big idea Orwell wants us to grasp. We have to stop thinking of language as just a neutral tool, something we use for simple communication. He saw it as something way more powerful. He reveals it's not a tool at all, but a political system in its own right. And it's a system that can be engineered, not to share ideas, but to actually prevent clear thought. To make that fog so thick that it basically controls how we perceive the world. And this kicks off a really dangerous cycle. Orwell saw this clear pattern of decay, a kind of downward spiral where corrupted language leads to corrupted thoughts, which then, of course, just encourages more bad language. The whole process really begins with masking brutality. It's about using language not to describe what's happening, but to hide it, especially when you have to defend something that's, completely indefensible. And the first weapon in that arsenal is the euphemism. Words are chosen very carefully to sanitize violence and injustice. Pacification just sounds so much calmer than bombing defenseless villages, doesn't it? As Orwell brilliantly put it, these words fall on the facts like soft snow, blurring the outlines. Now, once you get used to these pre-approved, sterile phrases, something else starts to happen. You move into the realm of pure abstraction. The words become completely disconnected from the real-world consequences they're supposed to describe. That link is deliberately severed. And once language is detached from reality like that, it's so much easier to fall into what Orwell called power worship. It's that gut instinct to defend actions from your own side that you would absolutely condemn if anyone else did them. This whole dissent ends in intellectual conformity. Because when people are trained to think only in these prefabricated slogans, their brain is sort of anesthetized. The ability to think for yourself, to have an original thought, is crippled. And at that point, the system of control is complete. Okay, I know that sounds incredibly grim. You might be thinking we're all just doomed. But Orwell doesn't just leave us with the diagnosis. He gives us the tools to fight back. He insists we can pierce through this fog and reclaim our clarity. And his solution is just so powerfully simple. He argues that clear thinking isn't some special gift. It's a conscious choice. He calls it a kind of political hygiene. It's just about taking a moment to be intentional with our words, starting by asking ourselves these 4 basic questions before we speak or write. So why does all this matter today? Well, because Orwell's essays are so much more than a history lesson. They're a timeless toolkit for empowering ourselves, right here, right now. These essays train us to be sharper listeners and readers. They give us a kind of mental checklist to spot that fog of euphemism and abstraction in real time. The next time you hear some vague, feel-good phrase describing a complex policy, that's your cue. You're seeing the machinery of persuasion at work. For the full long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description. If you enjoyed this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.